Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get life-changing jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, Roocha, who was working as a civil engineer and very unhappy with her job a couple years ago when she found my course. Within just a few months, she got her first digital marketing job, making $47,000 a year. She eventually got promoted up to $60,000 a year, but now, just a couple years into her career, she is making $110,000 a year doing digital marketing in-house. She is very happy with her job and the life transformation that happened since she took the course. I'm very excited to share her story with you. Thanks for being here, Roocha.
Thanks, Seth. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So why don't you tell people just a little bit about your current job that you have right now?
Yep. So currently I work in-house for a B2B tech company. And it's been a really amazing change, seeing myself go from not learning digital marketing all to an agency role and now in-house. And it's just been a really rewarding experience all around.
Yeah, I'll bet. And I mean, I'm kind of curious because we have a lot of engineers who watch the channel or contact me. First of all, you're like just a couple years into this field, and I'm curious, as a civil engineer, do you think you'd be making about the same amount of money or less or more if you'd stayed in civil?
I will say, like, the jumps that I had in terms of salary, I would have never had the same with civil engineering. I'm making a little bit more than some of my engineering friends, which was also shocking to me. So that's been great. And I mean, I will say, like, the analytical skills were able to transfer over, so I was able to use some of that knowledge. But I think there's definitely more opportunity in digital marketing to really like jump levels, I would say.
Absolutely. Getting to six figures in just a couple of years is really unheard of unless you are. And again, you don't need a degree. You happen to have one, but people without degrees are making that kind of jump in law or medicine maybe, but that takes years and years of school and lots of debt. And then of course engineering, which is very it's also, yeah, as you said, you weren't enjoying it. And maybe we'll talk a little more about the differences a little later.
And I mean, talking about like I guess degrees, a lot of people don't even look for degrees when you're applying to like an entry level role, which is great because if you can come in with the skills, especially like from your course, and they're able to transfer over in a practical setting, I feel like that's more valuable than a piece of paper. So no, I mean, even at this job, they weren't looking for a marketing degree. And I think they were looking for 2 to 4 years of experience. I'm only 2 years into digital marketing right now. So that's what was shocking to me. I was kind of hesitant, being like, should I really apply to this role if they're looking for like 2 to 4 years of experience? And I've been in this field for 1.5 at the time. But my man, like someone that reached out to me basically like encouraged me to go ahead and apply. So that really goes to tell you like you can really do it. Like you're not limited by the degree. It's really the experience and the value that you're gonna be able to bring to the team. That's gonna matter at really any job.
You said it very well. I say, guys, in my walkthrough videos every week, and this is really, and I love that this was a 2 to 4 year experience, paying six figures, which is again so unheard of in other fields. And you didn't quite know if you were ready, but you were. And we've heard that again and again and again. They don't care about the degree; it's all about the value you bring. Now, I know you being a civil, former civil engineer. You're very smart, and even your cover letter, I remember from like 3 years ago, it stands out to me because I remember you were talking about how you used to design, was it like sewers or something, or like city.
Yeah, I was part of the design team. So basically we would design warehouses, and then we would do like basic permitting for New York City sidewalks. And that stuff was very, very boring. I remember like this one instance where they had me basically on a site count trees based on the survey. And that day I was just like, oof, this is just brutal. It was like a 7 or 8 acre site. So a lot of boring stuff, which might be exciting to people that really like it, but to me, I realize I'm like, this is not for me.
That sounds terrible, counting trees. But what I remember was you were able to take that and put it in your cover letter, and you said something like, I've designed, sidewalks and things, and I'm using that analytical ability in my PPC campaigns, and you got to hire
Yeah.
Single Grain is a really good company, and I'm sure. I mean, let me ask you this. So, I mean, we're gonna kind of. I'm probably gonna link to your original video, so you don't have to tell the entire story of how you first got hired.
Okay.
But what you know, picking up from that story, once you got hired, I mean, how much ad spend were you managing there?
That one was around 30,000 to like a million. So some of the clients that were really high spending, I think I was on around 4 or 5 accounts. And yeah, I mean it really varied. We got to work with like multiple clients that were in different industries. So the overall exposure at Single Grain was really great, and the people that I worked with were fantastic. I mean, I got trained from the ground up. I never was like kind of just thrown into it. Like they really guided me along the way. And I think that really brought up my confidence. My managers were kind of always on my side, making sure that even as I take on more like a client facing role, that I was comfortable with the numbers that I was looking at. I could like a lot of it is like, making logical logical sense as to like why your paid media spend is doing what it is and being able to explain that to the client. So that was like one really huge thing that I learned from there. So yeah, I mean, Single Grain was I think a very critical and a great experience.
And since you mentioned it, I'm so you got a lot of training. So we talk about this in the previous interview, but I'll just if you want to quickly touch on it. So again, you came out of the course, no experience other than what you generated from the course. And so, how did that, do you remember how that first interview went with them? Were they like, obviously they knew you didn't have experience, but they obviously saw something in you. Did they tell you like, hey, we're going to be training you? Or do you remember how the interview went back then?
Yeah, I mean, they wanted to see like what kind of knowledge I had, and they had actually heard about your course. I think I mentioned that in the other video too. Because I was like, yeah, I took this course. I basically learned the fundamentals of what digital marketing is. And then I had applied it to a practical setting. So my cousin's salon, I had worked on her salon for a few months, and during the pandemic, business is slow everywhere, but I was able to actually up her revenue through the skills I learned. I ended up building a website, which I think was like the biggest thing for me. That was like a little degree in itself. I remember telling my parents, I'm like, look, I built a website. So that was super exciting. And then being able to run ads, manage social media, and really understanding like how holistically all these different aspects in digital marketing work together. So that was really critical. And I think through that, I figured out what it is that I liked. And that was like paid media. And I knew I just wanted to like specialize in it. So yeah.
And that all came out in the interview. Um, that's interesting. Did you interview with Eric?
Yeah. So basically, I had a few rounds of interview, and with Eric, I had interviewed the last.
He's the
And I think,
owner of the company. Eric
huh?
Sui, right? Eric Sui, yeah.
Eric Sue. Yeah.
Sue. Yeah. It's funny because I actually contacted him years before I made the course when I was still in my career. And I actually didn't even understand like this. He was offering remote work before remote work was a thing. This was back in like 2014 or something. And he actually talking with him about remote work kind of is what inspired me to actually quit the job I had and like start freelancing and like, looking what actually led me to the course. I never even thought about that. But what's funny is I don't think I actually got hired. I think I applied to work there, but I knew who he was and I spoke with him and we followed him on social media. So I think it's really cool that they know about the course now.
And it was just really amazing. I also consumed a lot of like Eric's content, the Marketing School podcast, and your content, and all that kind of came together into me getting my first job.
That's so amazing. And so then now let's talk about your transition into your current job. So like you're working at Single Grain, you're getting all this great training, you're getting your hands on, you said like these big accounts.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of, I think I remember when we interviewed you a few years ago, how far into the job you were, if you'd just gotten it. But what was the process of, working there? And then how did you decide to then transition to another position?
Yeah. So like a team of three, like we would handle like 4 to 5 accounts. And luckily around that time, like we got a lot of like new clients that were onboarding. So I had gotten to see like how like really big accounts were structured. So kind of from like A to Z, doing keyword research, building out ad copy, all of that, and like, but seeing it at a much bigger scale, and seeing that people are going to spend like, close to 500,000 or 1 million on it every month. So that was really awesome. And um, really, I think the biggest thing that really helped me go from this job to my next one is understanding how setting up accounts, conversion tracking, all of that works. So that was a really big plus, seeing like just structure of new account.
And then you felt gave you confidence that you felt like you could do that with new accounts at a new place.
Yeah, because you see it, how the different ad copy you tested or the creative you tested is going to have an impact on all those metrics like cost per click, click-through rate. So you get into the nitty-gritty of it. And when you really start, I guess, digesting those metrics, you're able to talk about it to the client, and really bring like logic into like what is happening with their paid media spend. And I think that confidence like just kept growing with like the different accounts that I was working on.
Absolutely. And yeah, and that's the skill I tell people in the course, like, the ability to speak in plain English to a regular client about what's happening is really powerful. I remember when I worked at an agency, I had the clients loved me because I wasn't, and some of my coworkers, they're all great, but I think they're more like tech guys, so they were kind of more dry in explaining things, and I would give them a little education and a little, oh, this is why we're doing this, and this is performing this, and they would love, they just felt so happy that they could understand. And honestly, they're a lot, the clients are then a lot more patient with you to try things, or if things aren't working, if they can just understand. I think what makes a client crazy or makes them stressed out is when they don't understand what's happening and they feel left out. So that's really important.
That was also like one really big thing I learned is that, at the agency with my team, like we're talking the paid media language, we're talking about click-through rate, we're talking about those metrics. And I guess to us, like it makes sense. But like you said, like speaking in plain English to your client and making them understand what is actually going on without mentioning like, the acronyms and stuff, that's where you really, I feel like your confidence comes from and you truly understand those metrics. And that really helped me in this, I think the current job too, because I was able to, me and my manager are the only ones that do paid media. So explaining to stakeholders why maybe click-through rate is down or why cost per click is up or cost per lead is being impacted by what metrics. Those like are just like really important.
Yeah, so leading us to your current job, and so how did that happen? Like, was it a recruiter? Were you actively seeking jobs? And like, I think you mentioned that you didn't know if you even would qualify, but how did that come about?
Yeah, I was not actively seeking a new role, but like someone had approached me with this opportunity before it kind of even went live. So I kind of had like the inside scoop on applying. I think like maybe a week or two before the job posting went live. And I got to talk to the hiring manager for that role, and we really just connected. I told her very candidly what my experience is, and why I had the hesitation of applying based on the requirements that they're looking for. But I think she really gained confidence after we had chatted about like what I like about paid media, or like what are some things in paid media like I'm not the best at, or like, I'm still trying to improve upon. So I think we had that very transparent conversation with each other. And I think that led me into like just going into like more interviews and ending up getting the role.
Yeah, clearly. So, and I'm just saying, like, look, guys, it's not about years of experience per se. It's about how good you are at what you're doing. Like, just the fact that you're managing million or $500,000 a month accounts, right? At single grain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's top of the top. I mean, you can go to almost any company, unless it's like, some, Toyota, or I don't know, someone that's spending 2 million a month, but you're in the ballpark of managing big accounts and having this kind of experience. So, I mean, I think you were more qualified than you thought. And what kind of budgets are you managing at this place? And can you tell us anything about the company, whatever you feel comfortable with?
I can't mention the budget, but basically what I do is lead generation for them. That is my main focus. And the company itself, we sell wireless networking equipment to businesses, basically getting them connected to internet. And yeah, I mean, me and my manager, we were brought in to basically build out their paid media campaigns, because before us, like, it was kind of mismanaged. So we had kind of started from scratch. Like, we had gone ahead and set up all the attribution and like tracking, making sure reporting was right. Before we got there, there was no like QBRs or like monthly updates. At this point, like, to stakeholders, I send in like monthly, weekly updates about how our paid media spend is doing. Then we also manage I know this is like in-house, but like, I kind of do like client work, as in to the field marketers. We'll be having like bi-weekly check-ins telling them how their region is doing. So a lot of those skills from the agency side also comes in here, where I'm talking to them about, in very plain English, how their paid media spend is doing. And now we have like our second QBR coming up. So that's super exciting that we're able to progress to that level.
Your second what?
QBR, quarterly business review, basically telling our CMO how much we spent, how many leads we generated from that, from what different funnels, things like that.
And it's going well, it sounds like.
It's going really well. Yeah, we've made significant strides from the time we
That's
started.
that's amazing, guys. And this is the next. This is a really great illustration. When I got my first like six-figure job, it was the same situation. I was at a private in-house company that previously had a mismanaged ads account. So like, were they with an agency or was it someone else in-house before?
It was in-house.
It was in-house before. Okay, so they, a lot of companies, what happens, they hire an agency. God, there's a lot of good agencies. There's a lot of bad agencies. So a company will hire an agency, get burned, and then they want someone in-house because they want someone that can fully is committed to their account, not 20 other accounts. But then, yeah, those people, yeah, I guess it sounds like they didn't do a great job. So you came in and fixed everything up.
Yeah.
And it's amazing too, because you're part of a private company that obviously makes a lot of money because they're paying you a good salary. And I was gonna say, what's the workload like at your current job compared to at the agency? For the work?
So, I mean, I'm not managing 4 to 5 accounts, which is really great. I'm like managing 3-ish channels. I'd leave that part out. I can't really talk about like what channels we're spending on. So I'll just start it again. So basically at this job, I'm managing multiple channels, and workload is not really that bad, in a sense that I'm managing and focusing on one account only. That's one thing I really craved at like working at the agency side. Instead of managing 4 or 5 accounts, I wanted to just dive in on one. I wanted to see what their sales were like. I wanted to see how the leads we were generating, like the quality of it was. And that's like the biggest thing here. I can just reach out to our sales rep and be like, okay, this new campaign we launched, how is the quality of leads coming from that? Or like this new content piece that we're promoting, how is it really doing? And because you're in-house, you get access to so many of these like other parts of marketing that it just feels like a much more holistic experience, and you see everything go step by step out the door. So that's been the biggest change for me.
That's amazing. And what's interesting is like you said you weren't actively looking for a new role, but it sounds like you wanted a new role and you wanted specifically to focus on one client, and then this opportunity came along. So it sounds like everything worked out in that sense. So this sounds great, and we really appreciate you sharing it with us. I was just curious though, I'm moving away from the job itself. Like how has this changed your life? Like at this point, like in terms of your work-life balance or your enjoyment of life, and just how has everything changed like since you took the course?
I'd say the biggest perk of digital marketing is that you can work remote. And I've still been able to do it since the pandemic, and I love every second of it. I love the fact that I've gone to India and worked remote for like 2 months now. I get to go visit my family in New Jersey, and basically I get to travel a lot because of this job, because I can work from anywhere. That's been like a really big focus or improvement. And I guess the other change has been because there is a lot more like work-life balance. I've been able to focus on my own like personal health. So I've been like going into the gym, eating well, like being able to focus on myself and like grow myself outside of my 9 to 5, which before kind of like in engineering, it felt like my life revolved around just getting projects done for clients. So digital marketing has been like a wonderful change in my life.
That's so wonderful. I was thinking of if we were using this as a promo video and you're like, I got to travel to New Jersey. Wow, what a career. You know?
You know what? Let me change it to San Diego.
No, no, yeah. Well, I remember writing to me and saying you were in India or seeing you maybe on Instagram. And I think you went to the mountains, right? In Tennessee or something on a vacation.
Yeah, because like Gatlinburg is what, an hour or two away from here, and they just got amazing cabins. There was a bear by my cabin, so that was a highlight. Um, so things like that, like I feel like I'm able to do as long as I just have like internet access.
It's so amazing. I mean, just the way you know, you seem very happy and everything you're saying just checks out. And this is how it's supposed to be, guys. I mean, you're seeing people talking about mental health so much. And a friend of mine showed me a video, like a TikTok from she's very funny, but she's making videos about her corporate like life. And it's so depressing because it's like she can't sleep and like she's making fun of this, you know, but it's like we were both saying like the videos are funny, but like depressing about what happens with people's work-life balance in some of these jobs, and definitely the conventional mainstream ones where they say become an engineer, get into finance or be a doctor or something. They usually do not have this work-life balance you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think biggest learning is also like just pursue what you're gonna enjoy, because I mean I was in engineering thinking I was gonna make the big bucks, had that status. And I mean, usually in Asian cultures there is a lot of like focus on that. And I mean, I was at a point where I was like crying every day because I hated my job. I didn't like the way my manager treated me. My mom was ready to quit for me, is how bad it got. So now to transition from that to now like genuinely enjoying every day what it is that I do. And like I wake up excited, knowing that like what I do actually has an impact on the business or my client, whoever, is honestly really rewarding and just been really great.
That's so awesome. I'm curious. I don't know if we spoke about this in the first interview because you know you're from India. Your
Yeah.
family's in India. So yeah, that you know I know the culture is known for the emphasis on these very stable jobs. And so what I was curious though is like it's cool that your mom was sympathetic. I think I've known people that just been like, no, just you got to deal with it. When you started to pivot to digital marketing, did you get support from your family, or was it kind of like, what is this? You know, you're taking some course. This does not make any sense to us.
I think seeing how bad my mental health and like my physical health took a hit from just being in a career I didn't enjoy, that I didn't find fulfilling. They were supportive in a sense that just find what it is that you want next. And I think I would say I was lucky enough that they were supportive of me changing jobs. I stayed with them for that time. And I told them I was going to do this digital marketing thing. And like I told them, initially I'm going to take a pay cut, but I do think that I'm going to be able to move forward like really quickly, just based on like some of the videos I had seen, the testimonials. And they were like, okay, as long as you enjoy it and you're not crying every day, go for it. So, I mean, it turned out really well. And then when I got this like current job that I have, I mean, none of us could really believe it that I knew I would get to a six figure at some point, but I didn't think I would get there as quickly as I did. And I think that was the thing that was really surprising and really amazing for my parents to see.
That is wonderful. I'm very happy for you and your parents. I'm sure they're very proud. You've done it. You like check that box. I know in the culture, it's like okay,
Yeah.
she's making the money. She's got the secure job. Great. And now they're just going to press you to get married. Sorry, I may have to cut that out. Sorry.
I mean, that's already happening, but like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Are you
Oh, no,
engaged?
no, no. I mean, the pressure is already on. I mean, I wish they'd be much happier if I told them like, yeah, I'm in the process, but the process of the pressure is on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know that about the culture. I mean, it's in a lot of cultures, but there's just one Indian comedian I really like on YouTube, and he talks about that kind of stuff. And I've had Indian friends too, and I'm like, oh, here it comes. It'll be like, all right, what's the next thing? And then it's gonna be for the grandkids. I run into that too. So I may cut this out. I don't want. I don't want to. I
Well,
don't
that's
want.
fine. That's fine.
I don't think it's funny, but I it's funny with the parents, but like it is, I mean, that's a really big pressure to take off, I think. So it's amazing because now you have the support where you can do all that stuff if you want to.
Yeah, and like they don't know what paid media is. So I just tell them like I do online advertising and they're kind of just like, "Oh, okay, like you run ads on Google." Because they have to reiterate it to like relatives and stuff.
Of
A lot
course.
of people I think like they doubted me when I said like I'm gonna switch. So like some relatives were like, well, you're crazy going from like, you have a 4-year degree, you're an engineer, now you're gonna go to something you don't know. And now I have a house, I have a car, I did all these things by myself. And my parents are like, they memorize what paid media is. They're like, she does online advertising, like run ads on Google. So it's like a new vocabulary for them.
That's what I wanted to hear. That's what makes most sense to me. That's what I was expecting to hear too, because it's the truth. Like I don't know. I said I've known enough people from different cultures where I'm like, yeah, they're gonna be like, what? What are you doing? Yeah, you had the secure job, you had the dream, you had the engineering. What are you? My family did. I mean, my family was out of their mind when I was in my 20s because I didn't do anything. I didn't even have an engineering job. I was like a bum massage therapist, waiting tables. Like I wasn't doing anything respectable. And I know I only got a little glimpse of this because my parents wouldn't talk about it, but I think I got the sense that if they were ever together at a family dinner or something, it'd be like, what the hell is he doing now? So, but in your case, like you're already doing the right thing. And of course they're going to ask you. That's really funny. They have like a little, they have like their trip notes about what to say. So it's respectable and people will back off because they don't, it's true. They don't know what it is. But again, that's why there's so many jobs. It's a great thing because people still don't know. I mean, it blows my mind in 2023. It's like people still don't know what these jobs are. So that's awesome. I'm very happy for you. I knew this would happen. So you guys can go back. I would suggest watch our first interview. It's really cool to see the transformation. And I was gonna ask, is it okay if people reach out to you on LinkedIn with questions?
Yeah, definitely open to it. And would love to chat about, if they want to know about how I transition or anything.
Awesome. And yeah, that's great. It's late here. I lost my train of thought for a second. Yeah, Roocha, it's really great to chat with you again. Thanks so much for sharing with us. Last thing I was going to say is there anything else you want to say to me or anybody who's considering the course watching the interview?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to what I noted earlier. Really find your passion, explore this course. It has really great introduction to digital marketing, and find your passion, and pursue it. And I think, what is done in love is done well. So I hope you guys, wish you the best on the digital marketing journey.
Awesome. All right, Roocha. Well, thanks again for sharing your story with us. And, we'll stay in touch and we'll probably do another one of these in a year when you're really even like, I'm excited because you're still so early in your career. So this is all very exciting. I'm happy for you.
Thanks for having me, Seth. It was great catching up.